So for today's video, I'm going to be going over Hand of the Gods. I'm going to do like a quick introduction, and then I'm also going to give like a bit of a review. So first I'm going to show you the UI, the user interface. I'm going to talk a bit about the gameplay. We're going to play a game, and at the end I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of the game. I'm doing it in this order specifically because I don't want my bias one way or the other for the game to kind of come through during the demo portion. So if you really want to know how I feel about the game, make sure that you watch the latter part of the video. So right now, what you need to know about the game is it is developed by Hi-Rez Studios. They are the same people who have made Smite, Paladins. The game is available for free on Steam right now. It's like early access beta. There is also I believe, closed beta currently still for consoles as well. So it's going to be available on Steam and consoles. And it's a card game with board game elements. If you've played a game like Duelist or Shardbound before, I've in fact demoed Shardbound on my YouTube video and streamed it as well. Then you'll see some similarities. The theme of the game is, pantheons, deities, myth, right? So like Greeks, Romans, Hindu, Mayan gods, you name it. So let's take a look at the UI. Right out of the gate, let's just cover like top right corner. There are 3 currencies in the game. There is favor, runes, and canoptic dust. This is your in-game currency that you earn in terms of favor. Runes are your premium currency, though you can earn that as well from time to time. And then lastly, dust is dust. It's your crafting material. If I click on this right here, I can set card backs and avatar icons. This is also a backdoor way to view my quests. Interesting thing about the UI, you'll notice a lot of the times the menus don't have like X's. You have to click this little arrow, which isn't necessarily intuitive right away. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think a lot of that has to do with the way that it's designed for both PC and console. So on console, you're likely going to be using some sort of controller button to navigate back. But still, like, as a quality of life, part of me wishes there was an X. But yeah, that's like a backdoor way to get to the quest log, same thing. Here you also see like player level, rank, your levels with the individual pantheons that currently exist, quests, and so on and so forth. When you play the game, there's casual, ranked, arena. This is the tutorial, and then there is gauntlet modes, and these are where you build decks under certain rules, and you can win rewards if you can go 8 wins, no losses. So it's like a special challenge mode. The store, right? You can buy packs. You can buy packs with the favor or with runes. There's also, with runes right now, the Halloween pack, because they're doing some Halloween themed things that include card backs, avatar icon, and then alternate art cards. So that's a thing. Let's go ahead and let's actually just buy a pack. And then let's go open some packs, right? So right now it says core pack. If I had Halloween packs, I could open them here. When you are like first opening up the game and going through some of the different game modes, you'll also earn like a basic pack, I think it's called. The basic packs don't even necessarily contain rares, but they are like free stuff they throw at you, so that's a thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and click on the pack. Get this fun animation. It explodes. As you can tell, I'm going to get 4 commons and a rare based on the colors, right? So you go ahead and reveal them. This will also tell you who they belong to, right? So like Nuwa, that's Chinese, Ganesha's Hindu, neutral. And the colors also are kind of an indicator on who it belongs to as well. But that's pack opening in a nutshell. Yeah, collection. You got deck slots, right? If I go to empty deck slot and create new ones again. Each pantheon has a leader, and your leader has an ability. Think hero power from Hearthstone, right? And then you also, based on the pantheon you pick, get to include other potential gods or deities as well, right? So Zeus is your leader for the Greek pantheon, for example. And if you pick Zeus, then you can play cards like, Ares or Artemis, and so on and so forth. So Yeah, that's like the quick UI tutorial. I mean, obviously there's like menu stuff and options and whatever, but we're going to go ahead and just jump right into a game because I think explaining the gameplay mechanics is going to be easier if I am in a game. We're going to jump into ranked. I'm at the bottom of the barrel because I haven't played a ton of ranked. Been playing mostly arena, trying to fill out my collection. I still don't have like a great collection. We're going to go ahead and pick this like budget Greek deck and kind of showcase how the game works. So to win the game, each player has a pillar, right? It's a summoning stone, and you have to kill the summoning stone to win. When you summon units, you traditionally have to summon units next to your summoning stone. Then there are squares on the board, and you move your units to and fro on the squares. Let's go ahead and we're going to get rid of that. And yeah, we'll get rid of that too for our mulligan. These two are great to start with though. So interesting thing to note, if you go first, you start with 2. If you go second, you start with 2 and a mana potion. We're going to go ahead and select Arachne. Again, I have to put it around my stone. And you play creatures. Creatures have attack and health. The icon next to the attack determines whether it's melee or whether it's ranged. Now, if you've played Shardbound, this game is going to be a bit of a wake-up call because ranged units do counterattack, unlike in Shardbound, and they will even counterattack at range. So if a ranged unit shoots a ranged unit, they will potentially hit each other. Alright, so we got to try to get to his Apollo somehow. Somehow, some way. But we can't really get there. Now see how the exclamation lights up? That means if I move in there, I can be shot by him. So that's kind of what that is telling us. And I think we're actually just going to play another Arachne. And then we're going to draw some cards here. Just because I want more choices later. And then end our turn. So our Arachnes are spawning these spiderlings. Thanatos means he's going to execute one, unfortunately for us. So, I mean, that went pretty poorly, but about to be as expected. So now it's just a question of, do I want my spiderlings to kill Apollo or Thanatos?
Fates be with you.
And that is a legitimate question. I feel like the answer is probably Apollo, because he's the more annoying one. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of him now. So you can see you're moving stuff around, but unlike Shardbound, there is no like high ground, nothing like that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to play Nemesis and suck some health from there so that we can hopefully kind of get that trade. And we could use our hero power, which buffs gods, but again, we're just going to look for options at this point. Because buffing this means that this still trades. Well, that's rather unfortunate. So, he had a Scylla, which was very good for him, and not a lot I can do about it. In fact, I don't even think that we have a good option here for dealing with that. At least not this turn. Because anything I play is going to get nuked at this point. Now, Enyo does deploy a flag, but that doesn't really help us. So I think that our only hope, realistically, is to drop the Brontes, drop the Nemesis, and we'll at least take a health off of that. That will buff that up. That's the best option that we have. One of the things I've noticed about this game is that it's very mid-rangey. Like, controlling the board is important, and once you have control of it, it's pretty easy to snowball. That's not to say that there aren't some control options, but... Oh, wow, yeah. So we're getting wrecked. He's got a significantly better deck than we do. Which I guess you should expect. So again, I'm ranked 29. Because of the small player base right now, I was matched up against a rank 12 player. So, you know, That's a pleasant experience for me. I mean, we kind of have to get rid of this thing. Realistically, right? But if I use Athena, then I take the poisonous. It's still probably the best option for me, though. So we're going to take some damage here. There's not really a good option. Basically, we're going to lose this game. He got control early with a Thanatos that we did not have, and even though he's almost out of cards, I don't see us coming back before we lose too much health. The Poisonous Hydra put this in our hand, and we take 4 damage every turn that we don't play it, so I feel like he's just going to keep putting pressure on us while we are unable to respond. Yeah, we're going to take, what, 5? Oh, that's interesting. So we have potential ways that we could kill things, but again, the poisonous here means that we cannot stop taking damage, essentially. And he separated everything, so a second Athena doesn't help. And I don't have any way to block this from getting in and causing lethal either. Well, he got board control and he ran it down our throat.
Another performance already. I guess they can't get enough.
So that's the best we got. That might buy us a turn.
Let the hunt begin.
So he's playing Artemis, which is going to do a fair amount of damage. So that does 3. And then he can advance and do 6. And we can kill this, but then we don't have a way to deal with his Artemis. Or we could kill Artemis, but then we don't have a way to deal with Enyo. So that we do have removal cards in here, but we didn't draw them. We do have things that are like 4 costs to kill an opposing god, for example. We just simply didn't locate them this time around. And again, because of his clever spacing, we don't have an adequate way to like properly Athena both, and because this is range, it can step up and just shoot. Line of sight does not matter in this game either, so like I can't body block that. And this stuns something, but then again, I don't have enough to kill either one. So I think we're just going to lose to the person with the better collection, who's much higher rank, who likes to emote spam, unfortunately.
There are some.
And I guess we'll just do that. So that's going to be a loss, but you get the basics of the gameplay there. Like I said, the game kind of plays out very mid-rangey. At least that's been my experience thus far. And if you can get an early lead, you kind of snowball it to victory. That just seems to be the way that it goes. So now that you've seen the game, kind of seen the UI, kind of, you know, went over briefly the game modes, I want to talk to you guys about like pros and cons to this game, right? So pros, right? So far, even though it's in beta, there has been a fair amount of patches and updates. In fact, it was down even today as they were putting out yet another patch. Another pro is that with that means they've been fairly regularly adding cards and tweaking things and balancing them, so they've got a pretty aggressive schedule right now, which is kind of nice. However, there are cons that comes with that. Yes, there's lots of updates, but there's a lot of bugs. I mean, a lot of bugs. Believe it or not, this is actually the second time I'm attempting to film this, because the last time I did it, the UI was freaking out. It was like spazzing every time I moused over anything, and then halfway through filming, the game just outright crashed. There are many times where they will say, like, we're disabling this card or doing this thing because of a bug, so bugs are there. Another thing is that even though they add cards, sometimes the cards, when they add them, they don't really like explain things well, so I'll try to give you a good example of that, right? Like, let's go find the... Oh, I clicked on the wrong spot. Here we go. The Chinese gods, right? So there is, for example, a god that when you play him, adds a demon bag to your hand, right? Now, right now when I'm mousing over it, this tells me what the demon bag does. But if I mouse over Sun Wukong, for example, it says Warcry, select an animal form. This doesn't tell me anything else. And even if I click on the card, there's nothing that tells me what the Warcry does, and it doesn't tell you in-game either. So unless you look it up online ahead of time, or you just play it and pray, you have no idea what this is going to do, right? So pros and cons. Another kind of cool thing, right, is that, you know, as I said before, they had the Halloween stuff, right? If we go back to the store, Halloween packs. But that can be a con, because if you're a new player trying to learn, you might not recognize that the units are the same because of skins. Also, to me, one of the big pros is the theme. I am a giant, like, myth nerd, right? Greek myth, Roman myth, Norse myth, etc., etc. I'm a big nerd, so I like kind of immersing in that and seeing like goofy Loki wearing a sombrero. Like, is it ruining the game for me? No, but it can be a negative as well. Mostly, I'm just concerned about it confusing potentially like new players, right? A pro, it uses a board. It's not just a card game. There are tactical elements. But the con is, to me, the board lacks depth. Now, maybe I'm just spoiled because of Shardbound, but there's no interaction, right? Like, I'm not going up terrain. I'm not breaking things with line of sight. It's literally just, like, spacing. In many ways, you could almost argue that, like, Legends has as much board depth because the lanes are almost, like, mimicking spacing in some ways. It's not 100% accurate, right? Like, I get it's not apples to apples, but... I guess what I'm trying to say is that the board placement in this game matters, but it doesn't matter like nearly to the level and the depth of like Shardbound. And so to me, I miss that depth. Let's see. Potential pro, if you're just going to buy money, right? So if you're the guy who's like, I'm not going to free to play grind and I just want to throw money at something. From what I hear from other people who have went that route, it's about $250 to get a full collection with a little bit of leftovers and like dust or whatever. So if you're just like, hey, I want a minimum buy-in to be competitive, like that's kind of nice. Con, however, is that your alternate art options that do exist, like the Halloween packs, are actually pretty pricey. So if I go back to that store, one Halloween pack is 300 runes, right? And the Halloween packs contain skins, right, for some of the cards, and then a card back and an avatar. Now, you can't get duplicates, so if you buy 6, then you're going to get all 6, but it's 300 runes a pop, so you're looking at 1,800 runes. So to get to 1,800 runes, right, you've got to spend... if you don't have any runes already, $35. Now you'll have some leftovers, but $35 for like 4 alternate skins. Like, even if it does unlock the card for you, like I don't own Loki, for example, so if I got Loki, it would be unlocking it. But like 4 skins, a card back, and an avatar like icon for $35 feels kind of steep, right? So potential con. Pro, this game does utilize Twitch drops. Con, if you're coming from the Elder Scrolls Legends, you will be spoiled. I can tell you that since I have picked up this game, which was like a couple of weeks ago, I think at this point, I've linked my account. I've even went through customer service because I had a glitch with my account, so I can verify it's 100% linked, and I can tell you that I've received exactly 0 drops thus far. Another content creator, Firo, has let me know that he's gotten one drop, which was a pack in like 40 hours of viewing. Justin Larson, friend of the channel, I do the podcast with, has also received a pittance of drops. So yes, there's Twitch drops, but they are, if you're coming from Legends, nowhere near the same frequency. Another thing, like, currency's a little misleading. You may have noticed before, but like, you see 700 favor here, and if you're used to other games, you're like, oh, that's 7 packs. No, that's like 2 packs, because it's 300 per. Not a huge deal, because everything's kind of scaled appropriately, but it does throw you. Pro. The game has a burgeoning competitive scene. Hi-Rez is throwing money at their tournaments. In fact, there are qualifiers going on for a $50,000 tournament already, even though the game is in beta and super buggy. So that shows like some commitment to the competitive scene. Let's see. Alright, so I think I've mostly covered everything besides what to me is like one of the big cons, right? So those are some pros, but now I want to talk about a con. Now, this may or may not be a big deal to most of you, but it's something that's been bothering me for a bit, and I couldn't think of a good way to articulate it until recently. People kept asking me, like, you know, do you like the game? And I'd say, like, I don't know, like, it feels like something's missing. And for me, it's like twofold. First, it's that, yes, it's a card game, and yes, it's a board game, but to me, it doesn't do anything new or interesting in either of those areas, right? None of the card game mechanics, like, wow me. It's a single resource. It increments every turn. It's basically Legends is Hearthstone is whatever. Yes, there's a board, but it lacks the depth of Shardbound. It reminds me a lot of Duelist, right? It's literally just like spacing and placement. So, gameplay's there, but it's not doing anything new that wows me, so it's not like captivating me. So if you're not captivating me there, then the other spot where a card game will traditionally captivate me is with the intellectual property. Now, as I said before, I'm a huge myth nerd. I love that stuff. I grew up on that even when I was younger. Like, I was one of those weirdos that when he was assigned to read Homer's Odyssey in middle school, he actually enjoyed it. So I should be really excited for this game and this property, and yet it still has not been capturing me the way I would have thought. I would have thought I'd be, all over this. Now, ultimately, what I think it comes down to personally, and we're going to hop over to the collection because I'm going to, like, showcase some stuff in a minute, but I think it's because the cards and the mechanics that are tied to them very often miss when it comes to matching the flavor and the theme of the cards they're associated with, right? So first I'll start with like one that I think it does it well to demonstrate what I'm kind of looking for, but then I'm going to talk about all the ways that they're kind of doing it wrong. So like if we come find Medusa, right? Medusa here is a 3/5 ranged creature and attacks transform all units that are not gods into stone. It's Medusa. She turns people to stone, especially if you're a mortal. It makes sense. That's what she does in Myth. The flavor matches. This is what I want from my cards. However, unfortunately, in my opinion, this is kind of like the exception and not the rule when it comes to design for this game. So let's just right out of the gate, right? Like if I said to you, what is Zeus known for, right? You're going to say, it's Zeus. Dude throws lightning bolts, right? That's what Zeus does. He's angry. He tries to take things out on Hercules. He bangs a bunch of people and makes a bunch of children, but like above all, he throws lightning bolts and he usually takes his anger out on stuff. Like that's what Zeus does. He's like the god of lightning and thunder. So what does Zeus do in this game? Well, he's our leader, right? But he gives a friendly god +1/+1. I want you to let that sink in for a minute. Zeus, known for throwing lightning bolts, right? Doesn't actually damage things, but instead buffs things, and it buffs friendly gods. And again, if you're like somebody who's into Greek myth, Zeus typically like doesn't get along with the other gods. Like he punishes Apollo, and he frequently fights with Poseidon, and he definitely gets into it with Hades, and him and Hera have a estranged marriage, right? Like, Zeus isn't making friends. Like, why is he the support leader? Why is he not throwing lightning bolts at the enemy? Meanwhile, right? Let's hop over to the Chinese, where we have Nuwa, right? Nuwa. Add a crescent blade to your hand, reduces cost by 1 until end of turn. Crescent blades are 1 cost, do 1 damage to something. So she's the one throwing lightning bolts. So not only is it not Zeus, but it's Nuwa. Now, if you don't know anything about Nuwa, she is basically known for like creating mankind, at least in the Chinese myth, but also repaired the Pillar of Heavens, right? So she's a mender and a creator, but she doesn't create units, right? And she doesn't repair things. You know who does create units? Oh, our good friend Odin. He deploys a cursed warrior with charge. Or our friend Apooch, the Mayan god, deploys a zombie anywhere on the battlefield. Nuwa, known for creating mankind, doesn't create units. She zaps things. But not Zeus, who's known for throwing lightning bolts. Now, it would be one thing if it was like this one transgression, but I assure you this is not the case. Let's take a look at like the Roman leader, right? So the Roman leader is Bellona, who is here, right? Bellona. Now, if you know anything about Bellona, she's basically like the female Ares, but in Roman myth. She is the goddess of war. In fact, sometimes Bellona was literally like the word for war. But the thing you need to know about Bellona is that when she's depicted anywhere, whether it's a statue or imagery, she's very, very well known for her helmet, right? Like she has a very specific helmet. That's how you look at that and you're like, oh wow, just based on that, that's Bellona. Bellona here, right? Or here, no helmet. Not even wearing a helmet. Not on the art, not in the avatar, not in the alternate art. No helmet. That's her signature thing. Also, Goddess of War, her ability is move a unit up to 2 tiles away. Okay, I get it that it's strategy, but like she's not a wind god, right? She's the Goddess of War. Speaking of war, right? Like, let's think about Ares. What would you think Ares does? He's the god of war. He should either be really good at combat, right? Or he should like make things fight each other, right? Both of those fit the flavor. But if we hop on over and we jump to the end where Ares is, Ares pulls an enemy to him and stuns him. So he's basically Scorpion for Mortal Kombat. What? That doesn't feel very warlike. Even better, let's go 1 card up. Hades, god of the underworld. Underworld, dead things, right? He also passes judgment on things. While he is in play, enemy gods cost 1 more. He's not interacting with your discard pile. Oh, here's another thing that Hades is known for. A helm of invisibility. Does he have stealth? Because stealth is in this game. Does he have stealth? No. So, like, they just are routinely, in my opinion, missing on, like, the flavor applications. Actually, you know what? Let's go back. Like, there's even more. So, do you remember when I said Nuwa is, like, she's known for mending the Pillar of Heavens? If we come over to Hindu, where Ganesha is, our lovable elephant buddy, he deploys a Pillar of Life. This is literally a pillar on the battlefield that you can deploy anywhere, and it says at the end of your turn, heal a random friendly by 1. So Nuwa, who is known for mending and mended the Pillar of Life, doesn't make pillars. She makes like crescents that shoot things like lightning bolts that Zeus doesn't have. But now we have Ganesha, who's making pillars that you could argue serve as obstacles, which is funny because in the Hindu faith, Ganesha is sometimes referred to as, and I'm not even making this shit up, gang, the remover of obstacles. It just keeps coming, it just keeps happening. Again, like, let's go back to the Greek, right? Like, if you know Aphrodite, right? You would think Aphrodite, she probably charms things, seduces things. Nope, she protects things. You know, she's not, like, really the goddess of healing. In fact, she's normally married to Hephaestus, but, like, will frequently try to cheat on him with Ares. So she typically incites things, and because she's the goddess of love and passion, is oftentimes responsible for irrational thought. She's generally not seen as a protector, is what I'm getting at. But that's what she does. Like, it just keeps coming. And, like, I don't want to be, like, annoyed by it, but it's so frequent. Like, I don't know how to process it like when I'm playing the game. I guess that's why I just feel so disconnected from it, right? Because if it's not doing anything new or exciting gameplay wise, then it needs to capture me with how you're going to make the mechanics of the game, right? With the gameplay match the flavor and theme. And I just legitimately am not seeing enough of that here to like really like suck me in the way that I would like, right? Like I could see me, for example, you know, if you watch my Legends content, I do that series called The Forge. I could see me making videos like that for this game because I love Myth and I love the characters and I would want to do that. But they're whiffing so hard with the existing ones that it's just going to piss me off when I'm coming up with better ones, right? Like, you know, Anubis. Why is Anubis rooting shit? He's also, you know, Underworld themed. Like, there's no interactions with the discard pile. You know, Thor, at least, like, he's got charge, right? Gains +1 for each adjacent enemy unit, right? He's the god of war for Norse mythology, but also the god of thunder. I would have preferred him to have, instead of the secondary ability, like, charge, and then, because it exists in this game, like the soul, right? Attacks deal 1 damage to all adjacent enemies when you attack a target. Or basically there's like a cleave where they'll do their full damage. Like Thor should have cleave. Why? Because that's like his arc lightning, right? He's lightning things. It just, I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying not to get like super upset about it, but yeah, that's where I'm at. So I guess for me, like I listed some of the pros and cons. This is a big con for me, and I think that's ultimately why I'm having a hard time getting into the game. Between this and the fact that the gameplay itself doesn't bring anything new. Like, I'm going to be legitimately honest. I know why a lot of people are excited about this game, and I get it. It's the burgeoning competitive scene. If that's important to you, like if you want to play in tournaments and you want a shot at winning money, by all means, hop on the bandwagon. Do the things, because they're throwing money at your face. It's a small community, which, like, let's be honest, you could just get lucky and accidentally win money because there's probably not a huge turnout for the tournaments right now. As you saw when I queued into ranked, I was ranked 29 and I got paired against somebody significantly higher ranked than me. Why? Because that's the depth of the player pool right now. So yeah, if ranked, competitive, that sort of thing is your deal, play this game. But if you at all like care about flavor or like new, fun, exciting mechanics, as of right now, I'm not seeing it. Don't dismiss the game. One, it's like free. Pick it up and try it. And I would check back in on it. It is in beta. They are doing, you know, development patches. It might get a lot better. It's worth revisiting. But right now, it just doesn't bring anything new to the table, and it's not utilizing the IP well enough for me to be like really excited. So that's my assessment. Hopefully between the demo, the gameplay, and me talking about the other pros and cons, you have at least some idea of where the game is. You know, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I love you guys, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands.